Good evening, heroes and heroines, and welcome to Practising Programming in C, where we're laying out our windows and getting ready to do some more stuff on Cinera's config thingy. We're still in the process of getting the new config code and the existing Cinera code working together. And yesterday we got rid of pretty much all of the hard-coded stuff. We had 3 arrays that were hard-coded in here. We had the project info array, which contained this stuff up here. We had this array, it's quite handy. We had this array, project info, we had the category medium array, which we replaced. And we had this credentials array. Now we still have the support icons, don't we? Yes, we do. We still have the support icons, and today we would like to get rid of this and just go straight through the things that we get delivered to us from the config. Now, we made a decision yesterday. There's this push credentials function. So this gets called by build credits, right? Basically what's happening here is make the zeros of what we're passing them from a config. I think this is exactly what we are doing, because it's kind of the well, it'll be the current project. The current project is a global. It's a current project that's going to get used by build credits. So I don't think we need to do that directly. I think get person from config. This will be able to use the global. Oh, it's just this, right? Right. Okay. So it uses the global config, which is fine. So that does that, and then if we manage to get one, then we pass that co-host into push credentials. So yeah, this probably doesn't need to take the current project actually. It'll just be able to use that actual person, this actual actor. Now, a decision that we made yesterday was to have this person called push asset here, and just like always do it whenever we're pushing on a credentials onto the credits menu. If the person that we're pushing on has got to support, then we go ahead and go into this, and according to what we said yesterday is we push the asset for the icon onto it's a global assets sort of store, and then having done that, we this thing sets the asset index. We then pass the asset index through to this person to construct the resolved asset URL. In light of the fact that it's an asset IMG, so it constructs the resolved asset URL in terms of the asset's root location, asset's root URL, and the images directory. Because of this, it constructs that, and then it uses that URL in this call here to pass the coverage into buffer. So it stuffs that somewhere, probably there. And having done that, it then goes on to push the asset landmark for this asset index. Now, we made this decision yesterday, and in the spirit of encouraging, I guess, inspiring confidence in us all to reassess our decisions and sort of cure the sort of cure the got it right first time mentality. In that spirit, I've been sort of thinking about this off stream since last stream, and I reckon I don't want to do this exactly. I mean, we've done this to do. We need a better stories to accomplish as for support icons. And we're saying here we probably need a get asset for us to call here. Now, that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do that get asset thing. And additionally, I reckon I'm going to just delete this asset, this push asset here. And yeah, I am going to do that. I'm going to delete this here, and I'm going to instead call push asset on all of the support things that we're going to have. So basically go over all the people in the credits. Sorry, go over all the people in the config. And go into their support thing if they have one. Or if they have a number of them. Go to their support things. And try and get the asset, first of all. Get an asset that corresponds to what they say their asset is, their support icon is. If that fails, then we push that asset on. Right. I think that's what I'm going to do. Let's just have a quick gander at this. Yeah, here you go. So if the strings differ, the file name and that and types is the same. Then we break and we're setting the asset index pointer there, and then we're passing this into place asset. Yeah, again, I think this is kind of busted. I don't think that we want to be doing this at all, really. You know, I don't think we want push asset to be searching for anything. I don't think. I think we want the separate get asset call. This guy would then come in and just fit. What is this? Seeing it's returning error file. Non-existent asset. So if we succeed, we do that. Yeah, it just seems like this, if we're going to be placing, it should return the actual pointer to the asset if we care. You know, and we can set that. We can use that return thing if we want to. But in the cases that, like on the initialization, let me just show you this. When we do the init, we've got init assets. Yeah. So this thing here, when it pushes asset, we don't really care about we don't care about knowing what that asset's handle is, if you like. We don't need a pointer to that because we're simply just going over all of the built-in assets. Well, actually, we're going over the DB assets, aren't we? So okay, yeah, built-in asset. But even so, we don't care about retaining anything like that, anything like pointers to these guys. We just want to be pushing them all on, and then we can just continue on our way. I think what we want to do is, you see where we've got this in it built-in assets. Think about how and when we push these support icon assets on. My suggestion, where's assets count then being used? Yeah, I'm not sure. I think we do still want to, well, we could still make use of this. Although, again, we could, like, we could even forget about doing this entirely, right? We could loop over the built-in assets. Basically, what the idea here is, we're placing assets at specific locations, and we're placing them at specific locations so that we can actually use this built-in assets enum to access these people. Now, if we move to a sort of get asset style of thing, then we wouldn't need to do this at all. Would we? I think what we're talking about is, so when we're trying to do get assets, we're getting it's this thing that we're trying to get. If the type of the file name are the same, then we consider the asset to be the same. So basically what I'm sort of proposing is, let's see where we use this. Offset landmarks. Yeah, right. So here we go. We're going to have to change this anyway. Right, that's a given. We've got to change this because we can't have icon send and icon patron being the actual things that the offset landmarks credits is going to do. Because somebody might have configured more icons than we know about. So we already need to move this away to a different kind of a scheme. And what I'm sort of wondering is, when we look at offset landmarks, where's the offset landmarks? The offset landmarks is up here. So let's just say this is as an example. We've got offset landmarks. The source is just a buffer, which is plus equals a source pointer to take away the source of the location. So basically what's happening is offset landmarks menus. Yeah, I mean I guess this as well. What this is saying is we've encountered the menus tag in a template, and we're trying to offset those landmarks. When we encounter the menus tag, we know that we need to be copying that menus buffer into our master output buffer. So when we do that copy, the landmarks that are within our menus need to be offset by the number of bytes into the output we currently are. So what I'm kind of suggesting is when we perform this offset, we need to be operating on all of the landmarks within the collation buffer's menus. That's what we know. We have a number of landmarks that are associated with different assets. But what we don't record inside the landmarks, I don't think, is the buffer in which they are occurring. Which I think is the bit of information that we need. Right. At this point here, we know that we're going to be copying into the output buffer. So that can reasonably be passed straight in. And that's always going to be the same for whatever landmarks are going to be operated on. But in order to determine what landmarks we need to talk about, what landmarks we need to offset, we need to be able to kind of talk about where they came from. Yeah, and they literally just have, they're just literally U in 32 T's. So I think what we need here, we can get rid of the capacitor because we know a better way of doing fitting. But I think what we need to do here is have a landmark struct which marries up the actual landmark itself. It marries up the number and the buffer in which this landmark occurs. Then when we perform the offset whatever, we can say offset the landmarks that were in this buffer and offset the landmarks that are in this buffer, because we're copying this buffer into this other buffer. And then that's it, basically, I think. So it's going to be so we've got these collation buffers. Let's just break that. Probably worth saying actually that the I think the menus is going to go away actually, and I think what we'll do is we'll get rid of the script. We're basically going to get rid of the menus and the script player and just merge them both into the CB player. I think that's what we'll do. The thinking behind that being like the reason we had them separately to begin with is so that you could choose to put the menus at the top or the bottom. No, either above or below the player. And either way, you needed to make sure the script comes after both. So in order to be able to actually perform that thing, in order to provide that interchangeability of these guys while getting the script coming after it, you need to sort of separate out all three. But I just don't think it's worth it. I think it's fine to just say the menus goes above the player, and that's just how it goes. And then once you've got that, you can just say the CB script, the collation buffer script player, is just all in the one thing, because there's no need for that to be a separate thing. It just comes with that thing. Same as how the search does, right? You'll notice that there isn't a search player. Sorry, there isn't a script search, because that is part of the that just comes with the includes. Alright, so that just, well actually sorry, it comes within the search, doesn't it? I think is what it is. So yeah, there's that. I guess, do we just make ones for all of them? Probably won't make any blind bit of difference, but let's do it anyway. Are they commas? No, of course they're not. it's kind of a buffer ID, but it's sort of a bit not. I guess it's like yeah, I guess buffer ID would be fine. I'm sort of wondering whether we should put like current buffer or where it's currently resident. Because basically, when we do the offset landmarks, if we're offsetting into a different collation buffer, then we'll want to update that buffer ID so it's pointed to the new guy, so that if that buffer ends up getting copied into somebody else, then we need to actually offset the guys again. So all that just goes to say that we want to change this to be a landmark. Oh, look at that, it's the same number of thingies. There we go, I think that should be fine. Play that capacity, I think. Let's keep them there just for the moment. It's kind of like this can only ever be the destination buffer, never the source. In other words, we should never have to, once the guys are in the master buffer, we should never have to offset them, basically. So I think let's get this going first of all. Yeah, again, this fit function just seems too sizable, doesn't it? Built-in assets plus support icons asset index. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Probably won't build, will it? Probably need to do a dot something or other there. Well, maybe not. Oh, actually, yeah. That's fine. But this is complete garbage. We are going to change this, but let's get it building. Let me just see what to do here, just to make sure that I actually do it. Let's do below as well. Kind of. I think at the very least, actually, let's just set us up for success a bit here. I suppose actually we could click buffer ID, couldn't we? That's a point. Yeah, do we need a null? Probably do need a null, don't we? Okay, so this guy is pushing an asset onto the credits menu, apparently. Ah, right. So here we go. So this collation buffer isn't quite sufficient. We need to be able to say, we need to split this dude up. So menus, credit. So we need a credits. The quotes and references. won't really need it, but I guess we could add them. Let's add them, let's do all the code, and then delete guys from here that we don't need. Does that sound reasonable? I guess also you just go down the push. Nah, screw that. We don't need to try and second guess ourselves. Let's just be guided by the actual stuff. So here we go, offset landmarks. So what we want to be saying is, what is the destination buffers? What is the source and the destination buffer? Right. So we're saying we're removing the dudes. Into the source buffer. It's only the source. Sorry, moving it into the destination buffer. Shouldn't that actually be the destination buffer? This should totally be the destination buffer. Right? We're copying from the credits menu into the collation buffers menus. So this is the destination. Now the piece of information that we want to retain here is where they came from. Okay. And frankly, I think these guys can just go away. We don't need to have these piecemeal going through. All you do is you just leap over all of the assets. Right, so this is going over the, this is only going over the landmark index. I don't think we need the asset index coming in here. Right, because remember we were talking about this, we can't be passing this in to anywhere. It's possible we don't even need to care about the page type actually, now I think about it. Because if we're talking about moving from the includes player to the includes search, sorry, if we're talking about moving from something into the includes player, for example, like we know what we're going to be talking about. Like you don't need to say that it's a page. You don't need to say what the page type is because you know it already from this. Let's leave it there for now, though. If the page is player, I think either way, actually, you want to be. You always want to be looping over all the assets, right? Like that's just a given. And we're saying if the assets, looping over all the assets and all of the landmarks, if the landmarks destination, if the landmarks buffer ID is equal to the source buffer, then we offset it by the destinations this and set the new thing to that. That's basically what we're talking about. Now is that right, first of all? I guess that also contained the capacity, didn't it? Yeah, which we can get rid of. Leaving it there for now. For the assets count, we want to say if the page name is player. Yeah, fine. As I say, we might be able to change that and not bother. And then, well, we just change this, don't we? So we're going over all of the assets. If it's page player, then we look over all the landmarks in that asset. checking if the buffer ID is equal to the source buffer ID. And if so, then we offset those and set the buffer ID to be the desk buffer ID. That does seem perfectly right to me. And the only thing is, we just change this. Wherever we see player, just change that. So then what we're saying is, I think wherever we see offset landmarks includes, we actually can just say offset the landmarks. We're going to the destination buffer, we're going to the output, which is the CB master. And we're going from CB includes player. Right? That's the information that we needed, wasn't it? Desk buffer, source buffer, page type. And you see how we're specifying CB includes player there, suggesting that we don't need to bother with the page type because that is just completely rolled up into this. So yeah, I think in light of that, we just don't need any of this garbage. So wherever they're being called, we say something else. So push offset landmark, we're pushing this into the filter menu. Buffer ID, asset index. We do these to-dos and use our generic fit function and more same language. Asset index, I think, is what we kind of don't care about. So it's a menus filter. So this is going to go to the CB menus. It's coming from the menus filter, right? And then you don't pass that. You're not passing the image filter, right? You're just talking about the guys that are tagged with that. So it's going from the credits menu to the menus. Going into the includes place, CB. And rather than doing the asset C, it says Cinera, we'll just do that, right, wasn't it? that's the thing that we need to straighten out, I think. This script plays a thing that we're not bothering with. We're gonna put all of this lot into the player zone actual thing, but that's to come. So now we're going to the outputs, the CB master. We're coming from the search. So yeah, I guess we're already using page search. Just say page type. Can't you? So we're pushing it on to the output. So we're just putting it straight onto CB master, are we? So we're going from the copying the buffer that includes play. Okay. So we need to know. It's going to be a bit of an if here, but it's CB master and if page type and it's CB. I think when we're writing out to the dB, we don't care about where the buffer, which buffer it came from. All we care about is the offset. Could be mistaken, but I think that's correct. So we're pushing an asset onto the include search. So this is just a generic script buffer. Surely we have to do an offset landmarks for this at some point, don't we? Go from the script into the search, yeah. So I guess it's just it's not really a collision buffer, it's like a CB script underscore ad hoc, because that's basically what it is, right? It's not a collision buffer, it's just a buffer that we just set up somewhere inside this function. It's also worth bearing in mind that this search one is the thing that we're going to get. Oh no, the search we do keep. Sorry. We do keep the search dude. Okay, so now I think we're in a better position. What we now need is to change this. We need to get rid of this push asset in here. So let's do this. It's init asset, isn't it? So init assets happen after init db. I think init assets should happen, and then you see this packing templates. Current project player template. So this is the perfect place actually to get the config in. Well, actually, yeah, it kind of could be. This is printing out up here. I'll just sketch it in. What does this guy take? It takes type specs and it takes a path. Okay. So we need to init the type specs. Probably like that, isn't it? Nope. This is a path. Let's just do Cinera.com. We do need to sort this out, by the way. So when we run it from this directory, it'll open up cinera.conf. Now, we could also do the following. We could say, what do we have? Get product from. We have get product from DB. I don't think we have a get product from config. So what we need is a get project from config and a get project from project. Although, I mean, we don't need to get the product yet because we're pushing on the assets. So we could actually just use the config straight up. So we could say again, I think the only reason we're passing the asset index in here is so that it can be set and it can be used subsequently. It's not actually, I don't think it's instructive as to where it should be put in the thing. Place asset is a different story. If you're placing an asset, then you straight up put it where it should be. But if you're pushing an asset, you just go to you push it onto the count, basically. And I believe push asset itself also does the search, doesn't it? Although, should we take this opportunity to actually do this a bit better? Let's do that. So we've got a push asset. Because we're going to encounter this in a second. When we're looping over the config supports, well, the config people and their supports, we're going to hit people who have the same support icon. So we do need to detect it. Just bear with me a sec. Let me just see if I can understand this. So this just straight up sets the asset index point to be 0. If strings are different that, then we try and place it. Now place comes in. It tries to fit it. Doesn't check anything. Copy string into where that is. If position is equal to the count and the asset isn't known, so there's this notion of assets being known. How's that determined? Okay, so the knownness of an asset is set when we add a landmark. So what that suggests to me is that we are going to need a get asset function. Because basically, you know, when we do the push credentials, I think here this push asset will kind of work, because when we push an asset landmark for this asset index, we're going to come through hold on, where's the knownness set? Add landmarks. So where are the landmarks? So we're pushing an asset landmark. How does that not count as adding a landmark? Does known mean known by the database, I wonder? I think it might do. It might mean known by the database. Right. We're basically resetting the knownness of all the assets here. And then we're looping over the DB's assets header count. And doing this, if we find them, we say that it's known. So the knownness, I don't believe, gets communicated back to the push asset thing, strangely enough. So yeah, let's do it. I don't think it would harm either way, even if we're not quite understanding it right. I don't think it would harm us to do the get and then do the push. I don't think we'd push it on too many times. We could always try, couldn't we? Actually, once we've done it, we can actually toggle it to see, just let it work, then do its thing. And yeah, so it'd be like push support icon assets. Because the config is going to be global, we can still do that. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Probably got C. So it contains a number of people, persons. You have supports. And what we're wanting to say is the... Oh, it's just the icon. Okay. Blimey. Cinera.c. And what function are we doing? Get asset. So that's going to be a string. So what we're saying is, look up into the assets, see if that thing exists. And then it's push asset. We do have that, don't we? File name, type, and the asset, the next pointer, yeah. So it's going to be the file name, it's going to be this. Type is going to be, and the thing, yeah, the which is just garbage. Really, rather than doing this, we'll do the push asset and make the push asset actually return the pointer to the actual asset that we've just done. Also, I was kind of thinking that the strings match function doesn't necessarily need to take pointers to strings. It could just take the actual strings themselves, and that could kind of help this situation here, right? Rather than having to pass the pointer, well, obviously, rather than having to pass it by address, you could just do the wrap 0i in the call, and then you just use it directly. If that makes sense. Okay, does that make sense? I think that's correct. So we're pushing on all these dudes. For all the people, so many people, they all go support in hand to their park life, through their park life. For other people, all their supports, if we cannot get an asset that matches their support icon, then we push an asset on. Do we even call that? I think I do, don't I? Yeah, push support icon assets. So, now that we've pushed those dudes on, we can go back to push credentials. Now this could get a bit sketchy. What we actually want to do is... Well, actually, no, we can do this the same again, can't we? Although... I think actually, just for a second, we're just going to have to make the push person, or rather the get. We are actually going to have to make this just take that. It's unfortunate, but it's just how it goes sometimes. Right. Then whenever we do get asset, what you actually do, I mean, push asset itself does start the asset index as 0 anyway. So wherever that's going to be, it'll be sort of fine to use that. You know, whether this gets set as something, doesn't matter. Then what you do is, rather than this push asset, you do a get asset. Actually, yeah, we do need to say what kind as well, don't we? There's a get person from config. So this is the thing that I actually want to be pushing. I actually want to be passing the asset itself to this, to push asset landmark, rather than pushing a flaming asset index. I want to be passing an actual asset. Similarly for construct resolved asset URL. And then we're into this extend string stuff for the construct people. Now the interesting thing about this particular one here, right into that file name, this file name it's been put into that. Okay, so this isn't interesting at all. What I was going to say was that the URL is not a pointer to it. It's not a car star. It is a fixed size thing. But that ain't true. That's just the file name that's like that currently. Right. And you can't very well do an extend string on that because that ain't on the heap. That is just, well, I mean, this could be on the heap, but this isn't. This is just contained within this. It's not its own pointer to some memory. Is it actually building, by the way? So it's, yeah, it's just the unused variable. I think here, in order to get this asset here, it would be like using the asset image filter file name, this guy here, and its type, which is there. What is this exactly? This zeroness. Oh, that's the hash, isn't it? So it's kind of a bit cheeky. Using asset and built-in assets. It's one of these guys, but they're only set in the first bit, first three parts of it. Better check the chat actually, I haven't had a look. There's no chat, cool. we push the asset here, then we're just using that asset directly here. And also, I suppose it's the landmark count, isn't it? We need to know which landmark count we're dealing with. I suppose what would happen actually, what you do is you call fit, because this is literally only fitting it, isn't it? It does nothing other than getting the space for us. I think this guy, let's do this. That's stopped. Yeah. Give us a couple of minutes, and then I'll do this next bit. Alright, I think I'll change this to do what I was saying, take a pointer to an asset, get rid of the asset index, and I think what I'll do is I'll also change the strings differ functions, and the strings match, as it happens, to take just a regular old string rather than a pointer to a string, just so they're a bit more easy to deal with really. So you essentially, you don't need to wrap things up before passing the pointer to that wrapped thing. You can just pass the wrapped thing straight through. So, why is push asset landmark taking a dest buffer exactly though? That's the credits menu. Oh right, I see, yeah. That's fine. So that's the destination, we want to know where the buffer is. So yeah. Now, copying that to the buffer there could well be done before the other stuff, couldn't it? So it could well be done there, in which case you just do all of this garbage right there. Isn't that true? Similarly, all we're talking about here is so we would need the query string, which we already got, and then we're talking about the assets. So this can just happen right up at the top as well, right? Isn't that just true? I think we do need to take the page type so that we know which kind of landmark we're talking about. But yeah, in terms of this copies into buffer at the bottom, that hash, like that could just happen way up at the top because we We have it, don't we? Yeah, for all that, like, why not just stuff it right in here? And just have done with it. Isn't that true? Oh shit. No. Right. Where was this happening? So this happens here. Before here. So yeah, we are entitled to do that up here. But we have to do this down here after we set the offset. Yeah. So you see what's happening there? When you do a copy into buffer, you move the buffer's pointer from its location. So what needs to happen here? We're trying to figure out the actual. We're recording the landmark offset. We're recording the offset into this buffer of this value. That's precisely what we're recording there. So we need to actually set that offset before writing this out. So there we go. Hopefully that made a bit of sense. Damn. Actually, what would it be? So we've got the asset. The player landmark counted that asset, isn't it? In other words, it's just this. Hold on. Asset's asset. Oh, actually, it's this. So it's that. And then it's the assets player landmark count. Okay, and then we just do exactly the same thing, but just replace play with search. So in order to push the asset limits, if this, then we do this. If the player's plays, then we fit the thing. Set that, and then commit that. And then we copy that. So yeah, that seems to be it. the reason we got get asset doing that was so that we could pass that asset index to that thing, wasn't it? It was so we could pass that index to the push asset landmark call in thingy. So we can prevent. We don't need this to take this anymore. In other words. Oh, it's because of the push asset. Wait. Well, push asset doesn't need to care about that, does it? That can have whatever it wants. Is that right? Where's that even complaining about? Asset index undeclared. In get asset. Alright. Now nobody needs to use that asset index. Because we're passing that in straight through to here. That was the only reason. Well, we've got this here, haven't we? That's unfortunate. I think we need to make this pass the asset, take the asset. So let's just do that. So a couple of people need it, so let's make it. Really? All right. Interesting how it's gone and it's reported about this before this. It's the same function, isn't it? that's no matter. We just need to get that asset. And these are all using different assets. So there's no point in preparing one. Actually, no, you do, don't you? Because you do this, then you push the crap on, and then you push the landmark. So there is this pattern, isn't there? Construct the result asset URL. You use that in here, and then you push the asset landmark. So you do actually need to do that separately. So that pass? Yeah, it does. So it's this theme. I mean, it doesn't particularly matter, this. But let's do it this way around. So this is asset CSS theme. think the tags I asset index should contain a file name, shouldn't it? Tags asset tag offset. So it contains an asset index. Template tag codes. Ah, interesting. So maybe we don't have any some information that we actually need. So that's going to be an asset index. We need to get an asset for that thing. Template metadata tags. Asset index. I think rather than the template metadata tags storing an asset index, I think it needs to store a pointer to an asset. That's my theory. Yeah, so in the case that we hit this parse asset string, I think that this could probably conceivably be a pointer to a pointer to an asset. And what's the failure case? Parse code to strings. If it fails to parse, that question is error parsing. I think, did I? So this only gets called in the case when we've got an asset. Right. So we should reasonably be able to say always just set this to be the asset. When this says asset equals this, we don't do this. This guy finally just takes the asset. Pretty sure that asset index doesn't happen again, does it? right? Push asset still taking all that crap. Yeah, it kind of is. But guess asset only needs to know a little bit of it. Asset string. So pointer, asset string pointer. Buffer, asset string. This seems kind of garbage. Right? Why not just say that it's a string? So the result is either success or error file. So yeah, it can reasonably just return an actual asset. Can't it? Fit asset. I guess it's just asset position, isn't it? Right, if we get down here, maybe that. Ah. So, okay, so the result is equal to this. Otherwise, the result is equal to... and then we return results. Template tag index, asset index pointer. Yeah, again, this can just disappear, can't it? Yeah, this should totally just be that. Push asset doesn't need to take this in the slightest. Place asset, yeah, fine. I think this is more correct. Like I say, place asset. Sure. Yeah, no, that's not passing it through. Rightio, so we're on with this business. So, get asset. Sorry, no, it's just this, isn't it? Okay, we're talking about the template. Now we need to do some more of this stuff. So do this and then that. So this is a JS search. And we're building again. So, let's check the chat. Nothing going on. Cool. Perfectly fine. As I said yesterday, we are here to do, and we don't mind about chatting or not. We are what's known as fabricators. I think what I'd like to do finally before we kill this stream, not really kill it, I mean, well, before we lay it gently down for a nap on a bed of comfortable pillows, I think I'd like to change the strings differ functions to take a string rather than a pointer to a string, and then wherever they're called, just pass the thing that they need to be passed. I think that would be better for us. It's just a bit of a convenience thing. It's not super important, but it'd be an easy change and one that, you know, it'll yield a bit of utility. Seriously, there's only one chord to strings differ. Gosh, it's pretty amazing. That's going to be if zeroed out, isn't it? Yeah, end if there. Gosh, that's pretty amazing. Oh well, next one. Oh yeah, we can't build that file. So in this case, we need to just dereference that string. Now, similarly, does this need to take a string s? Sorry, a string of points to a string. I suggest it doesn't really, because it only needs to take it to pass it through to strings differ. So let's just say that doesn't have to happen. Where is that? So there we go. Here we've got file name L. Rather than doing that, let's just do this. This successfully sorts null topic at the end, but maybe figure out a more general way to force the order of stuff for the lots of D's that should sort to the start end. So null topic is a thing that we actually do set, isn't it? So this is, it's nothing, it's not like, it's not something that's configured. This is something that we actually, is that only the only place where it's used? No. Yeah. So that is something we can hard test on in the way that we couldn't really hard test on the AFK medium, or rather in a way that we wanted a more kind of configurable way of doing hidden things. Where's my cursor? Strings difficult and sensitive. Hold on just a second. Okay, so it's taken two of them. So basically here, again, okay. Guess it's worth bearing in mind here, although this is kind of a superficial change, we're doing these changes in config.c, and we're not kind of putting them back into config.full_full.c, and we probably would like to do that. And here we go, we've got another wrap eye. So we can just do that in line now. We can also do that. Still haven't really settled on a way that I like to do this. Sometimes I do like this, so you can see that it's like an and then some more stuff. Sometimes I think I do the other way. I haven't really settled on what I like. Marker L. So yeah, I think that's all we needed. These construct directory paths could probably actually just take a regular old string. There's not very many places that actually do take strings, which is kind of cool to see. But yeah, let's, very last thing we do, config_full.c, right? It's all completely separate from the config.c file, but let's just strings differ. Let's do what we just did here, and then we can all go home. And also, like, doesn't matter, but we could try to put all the strings differ functions in the same place. So it's only the strings differ LV0 that needs changing, I reckon. So there we go. That's your lot. 2 hours 26. Go and get some food, and then I don't know what's next actually, because we've done the it's the construct functions. So it's getting the construct functions to use the heap. So basically using main memory to put they're basically using extend string 0 to stuff the stuff onto the stuff. That's pretty much it. And then I think once we've got that, I think what we want to do is just take a quick look at the database stuff. I think we like to do that. I think make sure that we're not going to be in too bad a place when we run. And then I think we should set the current project to be something. Move our existing database files out of the way. So I think ignore the upgrade database function just for the moment, so we can actually focus on getting the current stuff actually doing anything resembling working. Yeah, and then once we have got that working, then get the other stuff back in, upgrade the database stuff going. And I guess actually probably before we even do upgrade database, we're actually going to have to sort out how the new database is even going to look, because you can't very well upgrade the database until you know what you're upgrading it to, can you? So I think that's the plan of action. Plan of action: construct things, then kind of eyeball the database, really. It might just be fine. It might not need any changes at all, but it's possible that it will. I don't think we're using the output yet, are we? That's one thing we're not using, which we will need to get back in. Or maybe we are using the output. Not sure. But yeah, those are the things roughly to do. After we've got some food in our system. So yeah, that's it for now. So thank you very much, Heroes and Heroines, for being here, for being square, for being constructive, and for being Richard T. Splet, honestly. Richard T. Splet, if you're out there, we need you for president. Until next time, farewell for now.